rush 4. Plenty of time for John. Now squeezes, steps up in the pocket. LA can run inside the 10. Head first. He dives off the 5-yard line.
65 horsepower trap. It might pop wide open, Rats.
It's in there!
Is that there, Rats? Oh, it's gone, baby. Yes, sir, Rats.
High snap. It's no good. The Chargers will win.
Here comes the rush. He sidesteps. Can he throw? He can't. The ball flipped forward is loose. A wild scramble. 2 seconds on the clock. Just preparing the ball. It is rolled a fumble. Casper is recovered in the end zone. The Oakland Raiders have scored on the most scenic.
Howdy, and happy Wednesday, and welcome to the Wild Wild West podcast. My name is Richie Richey of the MHRT Network. Still got the hat. And to my right is Captain Prime Time, Jack Rackham right here.
He's made it.
I mean,
made it.
at this point here, you've officially made it when you're effectively on primetime TV on the regular. So
It's like my boy said in the
congratulations
chat.
on being the ratings booster.
Two games,
and-
2 primetime games.
Oh, hey, just
Yes,
wait.
indeed.
Just
You
wait.
made
There's
it.
Nollins. There's
about Nollins?
Jacksonville. So hopefully at least 2 more games. And
I
yeah,
think
that
you
would,
need
that
a
would be
sword.
that would be beneficial. Sword? I got a sword. You saw my sword. I just can't bring it into the
I feel like they
stadium.
will.
If we're going to talk about security, I will hold on that. I will hold on that. Go
Maybe
ahead.
a nice
Hold on.
time looking
Hold
revolver.
on. Let's
I
just get
hijacked
right into
it.
that super quick. You didn't actually try to bring that into the stadium, did you?
No,
Okay.
no,
All right.
No.
Good. Okay. We're good.
no, I'm not that stupid.
Well, I'm noticing a pattern here because Captain's had issues with security on 2 different away stadiums here now.
Yeah, did you pick up on that? Where
I
were
did.
they?
So
Where
what's the
were
common
they?
denominator? What's the common denominator, though?
Because they're
Divisional
AFC
rivals.
West effing teams. It's
Divisional
Raider
rivals
Week.
is the common theme, Coach.
It's
Divisional
Raider Week.
rivals.
I don't know, man. Maybe you got your
I'd say you were-
got your bearded face in everybody's locker room and security locker room to say that if this guy shows up to the stadium, give him hell.
Yeah.
Give him hell.
It was
Oh.
classic Raiderism.
It
Well,
was.
look,
It was.
Captain-
We'll talk
Cavity
about
search
it.
for this guy if he shows up.
Look,
We will
See this
discuss it.
pirate patrolling these waters?
no, guys,
Nothing.
guys, on the bright side, there's clear, at least there's, to my knowledge, there have not been little notations to say, make sure you use gloves. Okay. So at least,
Hey,
at least that's okay.
Cavity search with no gloves. That's even
Not
more
yet.
of a person.
Yeah.
No, if they go for the cavity search,
One of
I
these
refuse to
is-
go to any more games at all.
Really? All the way up to the
Hey,
elbow.
All right, sir.
Hey,
You
oh,
just step
oh,
in
like
the back.
that. Hey, you're using the whole fist there, Doc? You know,
At least buy me
Upload
dinner
River.
first.
Got some Vaseline for you.
Buy me dinner first, at least.
Yeah,
Jesus.
That's right.
Hey,
And
you
last
know
but
what
not
movie-
least, we
hey,
have
If you-
Alex
by the way,
Givens.
if you don't catch that movie reference, you might want to go back. I just did another movie reference.
Well,
We
it
missed
really
it.
would not be a podcast without at least 5.
And not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
So-
this one.
Last but not least, Alex of Arrowhead Addict. And we have Coach Defense of Lockdown Defense Podcast.
No, Ed.
Pardon me?
I was
He's
talking to Ed.
trolling Ed.
Okay.
No, he's not. He's not a troll. No, he's not like Cafe KC.
No, Ed is a little bit more blunt than most, but he really is. He's giving an honest opinion in terms of what he feels and thinks.
Thank you. you.
And you know,
I'm sure Ed feels even
you
worse.
may not
about
like
Derek
it, but that
Carr
doesn't
now.
mean that doesn't mean there isn't truth to it either. So we'll just go ahead and move on from there, guys. We had some, we'll just call them interesting games this past week. I don't even know where you want to start because wow is all I have to say. Just wow.
Well, let's start with the game that went first.
Oh, we're going there, are we, Coach?
Well, why not?
Is there a particular reason why you're saying this with a smile?
I don't even know if you want
know.
to call that a game. to be
Oh,
real.
well, I mean, you know. I
Okay,
just
how
saw a
about
tweet that
last
said,
Thursday's snooze fest?
Oh, see, there you go, Cap. See, I saw a tweet that said that the Broncos don't deserve to be on primetime TV anymore this year. That's a tweet I saw. But
my favorite was RG3 saying we should all get free Amazon Prime for having to watch that game.
Right. Right.
Well, so I mean, aside from the obvious, which is the fact that it was clearly not a very entertaining game to actually watch. There was some promising things that I can take away from the game. Not many, but there were some. And we saw Baron Browning against a not too great offensive line do well. So, and sadly, he kind of got hurt. So the question will be whether or not he's able to come back for Monday night, or if he's going to be out for a little bit and take some extra time there. But we need to see if he can continue that progression, because at the end of the day, this is really the first game where he's really put some real good stuff on tape and done some good things from the outside linebacker position. And the one big issue for the Broncos is that our inside linebacker core is still quite weak, and Baron Browning was one heck of an inside backer for us. So, he really does need to excel at the outside backer spot in order for us to justify taking away such a good player on the inside and move him to the outside.
Is that Elizabeth's husband like 150 years later?
Who?
You say his name is Barrett Browning, and I know Elizabeth Barrett Browning was like a well-known author in like the 1800s. So I just thought maybe
showing your age again.
Yeah,
showing your age.
Well, you remember reading that as a young youth?
Sorry, what century was that?
Right, exactly. What century was that?
Look it up. Look, it's just because I'm erudite and refined and urbane. Look,
what year BC?
I imagine Cap every night sits in front of a nice crisping fire with a velvet robe and some brandy and just reads his Elizabeth Browning.
In a pipe.
He says, I don't need, I just go right out of here. Right out of here, baby. Right out of here.
Cap got a Grand Marnier sponsorship.
Yeah. Yes.
I need a Grand Marnier
sponsorship. Like that bottle's never moved, though.
And on today's podcast,
right. Well, he got one for every room. He just takes shots in there while he's talking to us.
Yeah, that's fair.
I guess the only concerning part there, Captain, is that you show Grand Marnier, except you displayed it like Vanna White. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
But anyways, with regards to the Broncos game, there was only a handful of really stellar things. Pat Surtain again played a pretty darn good game. We had Browning, who had literally the best game probably of his career at the outside linebacker spot. And although that's not saying much considering we're only in week 5 and it's his first season there, but still he had a really good game and broke out. I saw a stat that he either hit the quarterback or sacked the quarterback on 50% of his snaps.
Yeah. Matt Ryan was just getting beat up.
Yeah. Like it was a rough night for Ryan. And they were almost exclusively on Browning. So again, you have to give him a ton of credit for how well he played in that game. Really did step in well for Gregory, who's now out for quite some time. And last but not least, Avatar, that's my third one that I was going to bring forward. Caden Stearns. I have some takes on Stearns, which are positive for Stearns, but I don't think there's going to be a lot of people in Broncos country that are going to be super happy about the other half of what I have to say. And that is the fact that I've seen Stearns do things that I'm not sure Simmons can. Now, that doesn't mean Simmons isn't one heck of a player, but Caden Stearns, I believe, has better speed than Simmons. So you're seeing things that Stearns is able to do on the field, like back up and bracket a guy when he's kind of taken a step past him and catch up and make the play. These types of things I think we're seeing from Stearns really put him in an interesting spot. And I also think learning from Simmons is a good thing because, Simmons has great intellect and fantastic football IQ. And I think that with someone with more athleticism, learning from someone with a high football IQ can really elevate them as a player. And I think that Stearns has likely been put in a great position on the football field. And I think we're seeing that play out for the second straight year because he showed up pretty well as a rookie already. and we're seeing almost the next step in progression for him, which is wonderful to see, because every team would love to have 3 or 4 stellar safeties on their team so that you're not going to skip a beat no matter what, especially with so much nickel and dime, where you're not in base anymore, where you have that extra backer on the field. So having that extra guy that can step in is a good thing.
And you got Simmons coming back, right?
Simmons has been designated to return. I don't know if he'll be back this week, but he could well be back the week after.
But no Bowles.
Well, Bowles is gone. He broke his leg.
Yeah. And Gregory went on the IR too, didn't he?
He did. So he'd be gone for 3-4 weeks or 5 weeks.
For minimum. We're going to IRS for a minimum.
Yeah. Now I have a bit of an interesting one, and this is kind of what brings me to, we'll just call it the ugly, and I'll be kind when I say that after kind of watching that on the field, which was our offensive line is in dire need of changes, and we really should be seeing that with this extended week that we've had. Me personally, for what it's worth, I'd like to see, we will see Calvin Anderson at left tackle, who you saw step in for Bowles when Bowles went down. And I don't know if anyone else realized, but as soon as Anderson stepped in at left tackle, you immediately saw more and better runs to the left-hand side of the field. That did not surprise me because Calvin Anderson is a very good run blocker, and you typically also see him hold up a little bit better in pass pro without getting the holding penalties. So I'm actually not that concerned with Anderson at left tackle instead of Garrett Bowles. And there is some irony in this because this came up in our kind of backstage prior to the show. So thank you, SoCal. For those who aren't able to catch us via video, SoCal decided to showcase the social media, which is Let's Hide.
Waller facade.
I like this one better. I like this one.
Okay, can we all just agree that I was right?
Well,
5 catches for 36 yards. I mean,
he put up about.
Did you see the accuracy of Russell Wilson that was not there?
Well, that's the question I have. So this interesting take in revelation that he's had a lat injury for the past 4 weeks. How do you feel about
more than that?
Well, it could be, but how do you feel about that, and how do you think that has affected your offense in the past 4 weeks?
A lot. I mean, in my opinion, a lot. Your lat injury is going to prevent you from putting extra zip on the ball. You're not going to be able to lean into throws the way you would have. I look at the throw to Tyree Cleveland in the end zone where he was waiting that little extra bit, and then when he threw the ball, it didn't have enough zip on it, and then the defender jumped in front and intercepted the pass. I think that those types of throws, the ones that you used to see Russ make, and now he's late with the ball. Like if you actually look where he's throwing, the receiver's like an extra step past where, and they're kind of trying to reach behind them to catch it.
Yeah, that one pick in the red zone, he did that.
Sheesh.
Bad.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Those are all uncharacteristic of Russ. So typically, I'm not saying he's right back to prime time and is going to get back there. I think that's an unrealistic expectation for any Broncos fan. But you can't hurt such a critical muscle that helps build that velocity and not have it impact you. I also think that on deep ball, in order to throw that rainbow that you're used to seeing, even with the arm motion you just see me make there, you're using that lat muscle in order to help generate that motion. And
that's fair. I mean, also find it funny that he's playing through the injury when Dak Prescott was out with like 4 weeks with it or something like that, something crazy like that. That was funny to me too. But I just want to get your take on exactly how you feel about the injury and then how they're revealing it now versus when he actually heard it, because he apparently heard it in preseason, right?
In my opinion, I think he did. Yes.
Okay.
And you saw some of that even. So he probably heard it in preseason, and then you saw his Seattle game where some throws were good and some throws were bad. And he's quite literally regressed every game since then. So you have to think that every single week he's probably heard it more and more and more.
Well, that's also linked to the idea whether or not he should be still playing, because he can't. It should deteriorate even further if he keeps playing, right?
My opinion and my response. I don't know if you've seen any of my tweets and stuff when I've been speaking to people, but I don't believe he should. I think we should be playing Brett this next game to give him that extra week, because he's had the full 10 days now. You give him that extra little bit, and you gotta try to let him heal.
Yeah.
And remember, we have the bye week after the Jags game.
Mm-hmm.
So we could. Thank you for at least having pants on.
Finally got him to put some on.
Right, Jesus.
And I mean, in my opinion, I actually think that our record isn't great right now. I'm not really sure that it's going to make that big of a difference whether or not Russ plays if he can't put full zip on the ball and make the types of plays. And I'm not sure it's a good idea to go under fatigue and jet lag by going to London, playing the Jaguars right before the bye, potentially further injuring it, and then maybe partially coming back and then probably re-injuring it again. I just don't think it's a good. I mean, I think we're playing with fire. If he's your franchise guy, yeah, you got to give him the extra time to get better, and let's just call a duck, and let's come back and show what we can do near the end of the season when he's back to somewhat normal.
Fair enough. I mean, again, it's an omen that you're alluding to, that, you know, the longer you avoid letting him heal, the worse it could get, or it could stay stagnant. It could get worse. You don't know. But yet again, you know, you have to look at it from a perspective that what would the team look like? What would the offense look like if he's not playing? You know, we could, you know, so that's another thing too. I mean, you're on that kind of that fringe where if you lose 3 games here and there, you know, down the stretch in the next, 4 to 5 weeks, you know, you could be really, you know, have a serious uphill battle if you don't have a legit quarterback, you know, taking snaps. So, you know, it's one.
In my opinion, that's addition by subtraction with an injured guy, because the last thing you want is for him to get so badly hurt that he can't actually come back to proper form
at all this season. Yeah, that's
no, even into the future.
After they signed him,
yeah, you paid him like half a Brinks truck.
Yeah,
paid him more
Stop
than
it.
Mahomes.
That's what I'm saying. You paid him half a Brinks truck. Like, why are you putting him at such risk? In my opinion, you should put Brett out there for maybe the next 2 games. You see kind of how we end up with. You go into the bye week. And then by then, you've basically given Russ the time he would have otherwise needed to heal without having him skip 3 full games.
Yeah, I think a little bit of it is that these quarterbacks with these younger coaches, I think they are more leaning towards letting the player decide versus, you know, saying that just sit down somewhere. Like Andy Reid, for prime example, has been an old school coach. If Mahomes was in the situation, he'd say sit down somewhere until you're healed. You know, because that's just he'll just put his foot down. But these younger coaches, in my opinion, are more of a peer versus an authority figure in sense. So I would certainly say that he should sit down and rest it. You know, but again, it's just a situation where you have a young coach with Hackett and an older, 30-plus-year-old Russell Wilson saying that I can play through a coach, and he's leaning towards what his quarterback is saying versus saving the player from himself, in a sense. So that's the only thing I think that's at play here. Because older coaches, they wouldn't even ask you; they would just tell you.
Oh, but that's 100%. And that's kind of what I'm getting at is, and I've said this, I think, on the last podcast. Sometimes the players need to be saved from themselves.
They do sometimes.
And so I think that's where some of these younger coaches kind of make the mistakes. And then these other young coaches, in my opinion, are kind of trying to play both sides of the same coin. They're saying, no, guys, we're going to let you decide, except for in preseason where we're just going to say, go sit on the bench and have fun and rest yourself. But then come regular season, we'll let you decide when you're going to be on the field or not. It's at some point that the coach needs to be the leader and kind of start making some of those critical decisions overall. Thank you, Edward, for asking the question. I actually like our current offense overall, and I know that might be head scratching for some. But if you were to actually go in and look at the all-22 And if you were see some of the recent film reviews, including the Colts game, the offense itself was actually not that bad. It was how the offense was executed. There is a difference between the two. There was multiple plays where you had open crossing wide receivers that were missed by Russell Wilson. There was
how many emails you getting, Cap?
That's what I want to know.
I'm trying to turn it off. I apologize. I did turn my phone off, which is why you saw my booty, because the phone was on. So apologies here. Yeah.
So, anyways, with regards to the actual offense and whatnot, we had crossing wide receivers that were wide open. We had misthrown balls where they were thrown behind him, like behind the wide receivers, which was a timing issue for Russell Wilson. And I mean, let's also not forget, Russell Wilson managed to throw the ball that was too high for Saubert to catch, and he's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah,
like and he was wide open at that point too. I mean, that's special.
what do you make of Hamler at the end?
Well, that he was open on 3 separate plays as a crossing wide receiver and was wide open, and after the third time, he just lost it.
Yeah, with the game on the line too.
Yeah, well, he just lost it, and you can see the replay. He was literally wide open.
He was glued to Sutton. He was intent on getting that ball to Sutton on that play.
Right.
He didn't look at anybody else.
I mean, to me, it's pretty clear that Sutton's the only receiver that he trusts.
I'm okay with that because he's on my fantasy team. But hey,
but come on,
yeah, got to do something.
Use a little more out of Mike Boone, my recent waiver wire pickup, but
right. I'm waiting for Latavius Murray to get some catches. So I stashed him somewhere. So I'm waiting
Hollywood
for Latavius
Raider,
Murray.
how you doing? Tito, thank you for joining us. We have
Tito, you're late.
What?
Tito late.
Yeah, Tito's late.
Tito's late.
Tito's late.
Oh, Tito's the one to give us crap when we start late. So yeah, you got to
He
give
is.
Yeah.
There you go. See? There we go. Aha! 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 Gosh,
God.
Stop sending me notices. I'm trying to get out of
Yo,
this.
what is going on?
I'm trying to get out of the damn
So,
chat.
Coach, while Captain relearns how to use his phone,
And his computer.
It's
And
not
his
the
computer.
phone.
It's his
It's the
computer.
computer.
This is
then
notification.
this really might take a while. Coach, can you go ahead and give us your feedback on the Chargers
Mute
game?
this chat. I muted it.
Oh man. Yes, if we could get past CAF notifications on this Windows machine.
I muted it. Well, go ahead.
Oh man.
Here
Yes.
comes 1 and 3.
Right. I know we're just waiting, right? Yeah, I would say, the biggest headline for the Chargers game is that we got away with one. And honestly, truly, I'm still scratching my head at why Brandon Staley thought that, going forward on that 4th down in our own territory was a good idea. I can't defend it. I can't. I don't agree with it as a coach in my own right, former player. I don't agree with it at all. And that's funny that that's funny
I got it, Jake. I got it, brother.
FAQs. So I could have get us some tech support. Get us some tech support while I'm talking.
That's
so
my
we can
tech
get
guy.
Right.
I always go to him. So
call your tech guy. Get him on the phone. Google how to turn off notifications in Windows 10. Yeah. So, I think we got away with one. And I like what Sean Payton said on TV this week, that he doesn't understand the overabundance of going forward on 4th. It's one of those things where you're blind about analytics in a sense. I get that, the offense was moving the ball, but he did say it was something that was glaring, and this is right up my alley. So, of course, I'm a harp on it. He said that when coaches do things like this, when they go for it on 4th down, and instead of punting the ball and putting your defense back on the field, it sends a message to your defense, that you don't trust them. And I get it. The run game for the Browns is top notch. Like, I have a newfound respect for the Browns running game. Wyatt Teller, ladies and gentlemen, if you guys have to play the Browns, Wyatt Teller is a grown man. Yeah, Batonio and Teller are grown men. You hear me? I mean, we talking about just moving people against their will, and there's nothing you can do about it in certain cases, right? When I see them coming downhill pulling, and I see them getting to the second level, I was just like, good luck. So, I still have an issue with the Chargers being misaligned. I took a few snapshots of what they did in the game, because I could just see from a running perspective and an alignment perspective on defense that they were in the wrong personnel in certain cases. And it must be a fantasy take, Ed. I got you in a second. It must be a personnel problem and an alignment problem in certain instances, especially when you have a running team that you have to honestly and truly, go all in on taking that away from them. The scout report on this particular Browns team is easy. It's very simple. You do your best to stop the run and limit the run, put them in second and third and long, and make them throw the ball. That's the blueprint. That's the scouting report. So when you do that, and when you do that consistently, then that makes the offense stop. Even I heard the commentator say several times during the game is that they don't do well on second and third and long throwing the ball. They just don't. Historically, by percentage, they just don't. So when you have to force them into that mindset, so getting into rush packages on second and short, it baffled my mind in a sense. In certain cases, I've seen guys that are pass rush specialists in the interior D line on second and medium, second and short, when they're going to run the ball. And even if you didn't have a run call called in the huddle, what I'm going to do as a quarterback, I'm going to check the one, because guess what? I see who's lined up in the interior, and I see what the alignment is. And if you don't put your big bodies in the middle, of this defense, when it comes down to stopping the run early, you're going to get ran on, especially with a team that's so proficient at running the ball as the Browns are.
Too good.
It is. It's ridiculous. And it's one thing to be good at it, and it's another thing to just line up in two tight ends and five linemen and a fullback who's weigh 300 pounds and just roll great. They're going to do. There's no mystery at all to it. You know what they're going to do, and they just do it.
Well, when you got
that's defeating against your defense. That's defeating, right?
Again, it was we got out to a 14-0 deficit because they were just running at will. It wasn't until we got them into those situations where they were in second and third and long, we could get them off the field a few times where we got back into the game. And then it was just a back and forth. Like they score, we score. They score, we score. We kick a field goal, they kick a field goal, and it just came down to that last possession. Now, a lot of my Twitter friends, harped on the idea that Mike Williams got held on a couple of plays that were incomplete passes towards him. One being that last one against the third string corner. But you basically put yourself in a situation that there's a 50-50 chance they're going to call it. So if you put yourself in a situation and he was covered, although he was being held interior, his inside arm was being hooked. He was covered. So call a better play, punt the ball, make them drive the field on with no timeouts. That would be my perspective. But I guess from a positive perspective, the run game, we outrushed them actually.
Eckler.
Yeah, we outrushed them. We outrushed them in the game. I was very shocked at that. We really actually, by the numbers, we outrushed them. Eckler had a better game than Chubb did. Now, didn't see that going into the game.
Average 10 a carry.
That's what I'm saying. And I saw some great flashes out of Josh Kelly. I think that Lombardi needs to lean into giving Kelly the ball more. In both the running and the passing game. And if you have a two-headed monster that's going to be productive out of Eckler and Kelly, poor Isaiah Spiller and Sonny Michel, they just won't see the field. But that two-headed monster right there can be very valuable until we get Keenan Allen back, which, Ed, I believe is going to be this week. I'm crossing my fingers.
That's
but I think he's in practice this week. So assuming he doesn't have any setbacks, we should see him sit up on Monday night because he has an extra day to prepare. So I'm hoping
be the telling sign.
It will. Yes,
that.
It will. You're absolutely right. It would. Tomorrow will be definitely the telling side day. If he practices full tomorrow, I would expect him to see him on Monday night.
Yeah.
So that would help our offense because it's rough out there in these streets. I'm seeing people say that we should go all in and trading for DJ Moore and other receivers because our receiving core just can't get open in certain spots. Like outside of Mike Williams, he's the only person that's able to get open. And when you know that, you just double Mike Williams and live with the rest. And the man coverage from the Browns was really good in the red zone, especially. So that's why we kick field goals in the back end of the game versus getting touchdowns. So, overall, I'm okay with the offense being that we were missing our number one receiver. The running game was excellent. I think that, hopefully Lombardi takes the page out of this book and realize that we can be a very balanced offense and don't have to lend to Justin throwing the ball 50 times a game and still win. But we got to fix our issues up front with our alignment, with our personnel. I don't want to nitpick and just get into the whole analytics of the football game, but when Sebastian Joseph Day, Austin Johnson, and Covington need to be on the field on first and second down when you have heavy run teams, we shouldn't be putting pass rush specialists in the game on early downs. That's something we should not be doing. So for that perspective, keep the pass rush specialists on the field when you need them in third and long, and leave the big hog mollies on the field to stop the run on early downs, and then we'll be better off. And move Khalil Mack around, because you keep sticking Khalil Mack away from the ball, trying to get him a good pass rush, but sometimes you need him to support the run better. Because I've seen him away from the play. He was away from the play way too often on Sunday, playing backside, playing weak side help when they're running strong side every time. It wasn't until towards the end of the game where he put a line of over on the strong side a couple of times. We stopped a few runs in the backfield. So, just moving things around, making adjustments and cleaning some things up. I think that overall, it wasn't I guess you can say a dumpster fire of a win, but it was definitely something that we can learn from and be better for it going forward.
I would agree. I think those are all completely fair critiques. I mean, a win is a win, though. So
yeah, I'll take it. But I mean, we shouldn't have been in that position. We shouldn't have been in that position.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I agree. Do we have any questions for Coach about the Chargers game, or players or anything like that? I've seen a couple coaches answer some of them kind of in line there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll make sure I got Ed's question in, because he'll hound me if I don't.
Yeah.
Yes, he should play, Ed. We'll keep our fingers crossed.
And we're at the halfway point through the recap, guys. If you can click those like buttons, that helps YouTube recognize our content and shows it to other football fans that are fans of the other AFC West teams. So if we can go ahead and make those rounds, that would be awesome. If you are catching this after the fact, as in not live, go ahead and leave a comment down below the video, ask your questions. We will come back to them and do our best to answer them in line. Again, both the likes and the comments really do help all of our respective channels with the YouTube algorithm.
Tito. Andrew, what BBQ spots did you hit up in KC?
Oh,
lay them in the chat. I'll let you know if you made a mistake.
Oh, there we go. There we go. So who are the Chargers bots? What do you mean by bots? Like robots?
Where's Callahan? Where's your bot?
No, yeah.
That's the only bot. That's the only bot.
Callahan's a bot. BC's not a bot, but yeah, that's funny though. I want to have any bots. We got none but fans over here, buddy. Good. None but fans over here, buddy.
So, do you think you're going to be able to get pressure this week in Denver? We're going to save that for a little bit later on, SoCal, just so we're done. We're going to quickly jump over to the KC Raiders recap, which grab some popcorn.
Yeah, gut-wrenching. Slow.
And go.
I mean, that game was gut-wrenching for, I think, all parties involved. My heart palpated a lot of times, and literally up until Renfro and Adams ran into each other, you were on the edge of the seat. So pretty much played out exactly like I said it would, though, and how the Raiders-Chiefs games usually go, in very close games that come down to the final possession. I know there's a lot to take away from a rules, penalties perspective of the game, as well as some coaching decisions. But I thought the Chiefs, why they didn't go out there and light it up like they did against Tampa, still played a pretty respectable game and got moved the ball when they needed to and got things done to get the dub in the end. I mean, I'm sure obviously some of the Raiders decisions helped, but like they say, winning's winning. So
I feel like we alluded to it last week, when an old boy goes up to Toretto's like, dude, I almost beat you. It's like, no, you either win or you don't.
Right.
And the Raiders did not win, but the one thing that I took from this game is that I was not embarrassed walking out of the stadium.
No, honestly, if you kept giving the ball to Josh Jacobs, probably would have won.
Yeah, he had like 198 yards on the ground or something silly like that.
Well, no. He had 154, 155, plus he had catches on screen passes and other things. So he had close to 200 yards total.
He was trucking fools too. He was bringing the wood.
He has on the back of his jersey business decision.
I will say, though, in terms of watching the Vegas passing attack, didn't seem to be any sort of creativity on getting people open other than just heaving one and hoping Devontae outruns everyone, which he did do twice. So, it worked out, but he also only had 3 catches.
Yeah, 2 of them were for touchdowns. I'll take 2 of those catches.
Oh, yeah. Well, and then he shoved someone. Now he got charged with misdemeanor.
And you know what? I'm glad you addressed that.
Here we
I'm
go.
glad you addressed
In
that.
the eyes of the law, he's an assailant.
He is. And here's the thing. Well, I don't know what that sound is. So
That's
I'll
a
play it for you
joke.
again. Hold on. Here you go.
Here we go.
Oh, and here we go. Okay, yeah. Is that Joker from
It is.
Batman?
It is.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's say so. Christian, may he rest in peace. Good guy.
Heath.
The cameraman.
He killed Christian Bale.
No, not Christian. I'm sorry.
Heath Ledger.
Heath Christian, whatever the hell his name is. I knew who he was. I was talking about. The cameraman crossed his path.
Very late.
Very late. And was Devontae Adams wrong in pushing him? Yes, he was. He was wrong in pushing him. But, and here's the big but, kind of like you guys saw on the screen earlier. See, I'm self-deprecating. I'll take it when it comes out that way.
That's
the
what she
point
said.
is that this guy was told by his buddies, dude, you got a lawsuit and you are going to get PAID because this is a multi-million-dollar NFL receiver and they're going to settle for something. Okay. They're going to settle for something. I think that even that it'll be probably tossed.
This is a criminal charge.
That's what I'm saying. I think the criminal charge will eventually be tossed, it'll be talked down to nothing, and then the guy's going to go after him in a civil case, and he's going to get paid. And that's all this is that Devontae Adams was pissed off, and he took it out on some schmuck. And schmuck, by the way, is spelled SCHMUCK. So if you ever want to know how to spell schmuck, I just told you how to spell it. And it was a schmuck move because the guy, you could see everybody walking out. Maybe he wanted to get a different camera angle. That's a crock of crapola as well. And I notice I'm keeping it on the PG level. Okay. He wants to get paid and he's going to get paid. And yeah, they charged him for assault and it's not going to happen. Okay. Yeah, misdemeanor. And
he's a true Raider now. It's christening.
Because he has a record.
But he's a true Raider now.
Because he has a record.
That was his christening.
No. Actually, I saw a meme today where the Raiders suspended Devontae Adams for 2 games because he apologized. Because it wasn't the Raider move. A Raider move would have been helping the guy up and then pushing him back down again. So that's why he was suspended for 2 games by the Raiders, And it was a cute meme. But
he pushed me though. I'm showing up in the neck brace and walker. I might need a wheelchair.
You show up like Julia Roberts did in Aaron Brockovich. With the whole thing. Yeah, and this is for let me get this right. This is the lawyer. This is the lawyer. For all those that don't know what this is,
it's all about the presentation.
It's a lawyer. I outed him. Okay.
It's all about pulling on the emotional strings,
Dang, DZ. He said whiplash, memory loss, the laceration of the kidney, IBS, cross-eyed. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I would add erectile dysfunction to that too. And if you're going to go for it all, you might as well throw in ED, right? And there's your cut for the week. There you go.
There it is.
Well,
is.
DZ, Captain just added a whole new meeting to say that you wouldn't be able to get up.
Right.
Yeah. And there's your extra rim shot. And no, it's not a rim shot, but no.
I don't know. It seems applicable.
Okay. Anyway, so that's about that. Yeah, he was wrong, but it was a schmuck move by a putz. And by the way, putz and schmuck mean the same thing in Yiddish. It's a very phallic meaning. And it was a dick move. And so there it is, 3 ways. Three
Okay.
ways, the triple.
The trifecta.
As far the trifecta, there you go. I'm going to be out on record as saying, that there are people that are here, and I won't mention them by name, but their initials are SS. Okay, and you know who you are, my friend. I love you, brother. But they're already playing on, it's this guy's fault or it's that guy's fault. The point is that the Raiders made a mistake in going for 2. The Chiefs made a mistake going for 2, and they gave the Raiders a perfect opportunity to tie the game, and they didn't do it. Whoever was behind that, and Sierra knows that, is already saying, well, it was because of this guy telling the coach we need to go for 2, and it didn't work out. Had it worked out, the same person wouldn't be saying dick about the move as well. So don't even go on what that is. I'm going to also say one other thing. I was talking to the attendant, and by the way, I'm going to go back to the crowd because people were saying that that the Chiefs fans were throwing stuff at the Raiders bench. I'm sure they were, because also when Bolden went off on the sideline, he did everything but give a middle finger to the crowd and did tell them to FO. That I can catch because I heard it. So the Raiders were treated like that, but that's the way the Raiders are always treated. And I'm sure out in Oakland, Kansas City Kansas City team were told to keep your helmets on at all times. Mm-hmm. It's just the way it is. It's a Kansas City Raiders game. I almost said Kansas City Oakland game, but that's same thing. It was a hard-fought game. It was a tough game. But the crowd that I was able to hang out with, the Kansas City people, aside from the dicks at the gate that made me take off all of my metal, aside from the 2 that I snuck in, the 2. So when you see the pictures of me on TV, I have my owl on and I got a Raider medal on because I snuck those in because I said, I'll be damned if I'm not going into the stadium wearing something. So I snuck them in on the second time, and they still tried to kick me out because I had all the bracelets were metal, and they were trying. I said, dude, they're, and I don't know if I said effing, but I was probably close to say, dude, they're effing bracelets. What do you, I mean, come on, use your friggin' common sense here. Like I'm going to take the bracelet off and pack my hands with it. And I showed them my security officer's badge. I showed them my military ID and said, I do not drink. And they didn't care. So they made me walk out the first
Show
time.
me state, baby.
Yeah, here
Now,
I got something. I got
question
something
is,
I got something to show you now.
God, here we go.
Jesus. Oh.
That's the show me state for what I
I-
think about those security
I'll
officers.
show you grown up.
Burn my eyes out.
Anyway, but the fans were wonderful. They when I told them that, they even said it was a dick move by the attendants there for me having to take that off. So the fans were on my side. We took pictures with everybody. It was a fantastic occurrence for that. Now, getting back to the game, and this is the big one. Yeah, D-Roke, you did see me. When they called the horse crap call on Jones for roughing the passer, and you heard it from me.
That's good.
It was a horse crap call.
Yeah.
It was not roughing the passer. It should have been a fumble, and it was called roughing the passer. And I take that as a direct consequence of what's been going on with the situation with the quarterbacks getting just blown up. Tua. It's Tua complex, okay? They called roughing the passer, and I can see that it was close to being a Tony Serafazzo on top of Gannon situation, okay? It was a Tony Serafazzo on top of Gannon situation. Chris Jones kinda, and I say kinda, drove him into the ground, and that's why it was called. But it was a fumble. It was a iffy call. I wouldn't have called it personally, but I'm not the referee. But they've been told to put the quarterbacks in dresses with neon and call everything and protect them. Okay.
Hold on.
Call.
Sorry,
now,
on that. Did you see the how to sack a quarterback video that was
Kevin Hart.
posted?
Kevin Hart.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Hilarious.
great.
Hilarious.
Guys, anyone who's on the show well after our show was over. You have to check that out. It was, they put the pillow
comedy.
down,
Yeah.
and then
Tuck 'em in.
the one that I saw was from Outkick, and so they went up to the quarterback and they lifted him in the air and they kind of coddled him a little bit, and then they put the pillow down on the ground, and then they like gently lowered him down to the ground.
Mhm.
They took a blanket, they tucked him in with the pillow, and then the guy leaned over and said, "Are you okay?"
Right. Then he said, "Read me a story."
Yeah, it was great.
Read
It
me
was
a story.
fantastic. You have to
And-
watch it. Anyways, please, Captain, continue.
Right. And therein lies, and I'm glad you put this, Mike, because this was my next point. Okay. This was my next point. The refs were and I was going to say, I talked to the attendant that's been to many games in Arrowhead. He said he has never in his history of being at a Chiefs game saw the crowd react to the officials in that respect. And this is a guy that's been there for years.
Yeah, it was loud. It sounded loud.
It was. And therein lies the rub.
Back tears.
Therein lies the rub. Is the fact is, because of that one call, the refs played makeup the rest of the game because of that one call. And I take you back, Mr. Alex, to whatever this the phantom holding call on the kick that was missed was not holding. I think it was probably like, put the pill,
Yeah, but then there's also the very blatant holding by Parham on Chris Jones on the final drive of the game that nobody called. I'm
going back to
I know, but I'm going forward. You want to say they screwed you the rest of the game? The very last drive they missed the hole.
I'm going back to points. 0 points turns into 7 points.
Well, yeah, hey.
0 points turns into 7. And that was the deciding factor. Okay. We hold the Chiefs to 0, and then they have a holding called, which was bull. Okay. And that's 2. Well, I don't want to say they were fair. They were equally shitty.
They were fair and
equally shiitake mushrooms.
Crappiness.
They were equally. I'll even say it in the high Scottish. They were shite on both sides.
Yes, that's a good one.
Okay?
They were. Yes,
I didn't swear. I said it in Scottish.
They were shiitake mushroom.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go.
Equally crappy calls, and we will talk about that, by the way, after the show on NFL Nation Live with myself, Ref Guru, and Violator. What a great segue. Point is, please come over to my channel and watch that.
Go Chiefs.
Point is that it was a close game. It came down to officiating. The Raiders, I'm sorry, outplayed the Chiefs. Should have won. Left with a big L. So congratulations on the win, Alex. I'm very happy to say it was a great weekend. Aside from those a-hole arses at the gate, and the next time I go to a Chiefs game, I'm coming in with you and a couple of the other people, because my other friends came in with the same stuff and they had no problem, because
Chiefs jerseys on
with Raider people. It was F the Raider dude.
Oh, yeah. I mean, duh.
Can we address the idea that y'all decided not to cover Travis Kelce the whole game, though?
Yeah.
No. Kelce ripped up. In fact, Kelce ripped another anus, a new anus, 4 catches on 25 yards.
He's definitely, I read a thing that he set a record, or it's like the LeBron James type record, the first player to score 40 in a blizzard type thing. But, he was had the lowest receiving yards to have a 4 touchdown game. And they're talking about how it'll probably never be broken, because the lowest one before that was Marvin Jones with like 90 receiving yards.
Well, that's what I was going to say. 4 for 25 is like
ridiculous.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now, granted, one was a blatant pick, but still, that doesn't excuse the other 3. The last one, nobody covered him. I was closer to him at the end when he got the touchdown.
That's what blows my mind. Like the Raiders flat out said they're going to make a point to cover him, and he catches 4.
Right.
So Bundy numbers.
Yeah, that's funny.
4 touchdowns, state game.
In one game.
I did want to touch on this. While I agree that overall you don't want to necessarily point blame directly at the officials, I think that at the same time, the officials should never be the reason why a team loses a game. And if the officials are in fact the reason why a team loses a game, then the NFL has a real problem. And certain turning points in games, like for example, when you start calling roughing the passer, like you saw that one on Brady, for example, and
I
you
haven't seen it. I've heard about it.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
It was
So-
bad.
it was talk about shiitake mushrooms.
Brady even
Yeah.
tried to take him.
Yeah,
after the
so
fact.
so when you start having calls like that, and you start having things of that nature creep onto the screen and be attached with the NFL brand, it is not a good look, and it certainly turns fans off, especially ones that have been watching the game for decades, who are looking at that and they can't help but throw something at their TV and start cursing.
That's a great point, Rich. And there's two things that I have a real big issue with when it comes down to the NFL rules as they state right here and right now. Pass interference being a spot foul. It should be a 15-yard penalty, just like in much other penalties. It shouldn't be a spot foul.
Yeah.
It should be just like college, should be a spot foul. And the roughing the passer being such an egregious penalty. Because you're talking about 15 yards and automatic first down when you call those things. Those are game changers. If it's third down and you call a BS roughing the passer,
'cause you
extend the drive. And a lot of times that ends up in points. That's
And
the
you
game.
got
That's the
teams
swing in the
too
game
that
right there.
Will approach a drive, throw a deep ball with the potential of getting a PI,
They underthrow
inside the
them on
10.
purpose. Yes, they
Yeah.
underthrow them on purpose,
Carr
so they
does it
get
all
a
the
PI.
time.
Well, oh wow, Captain gets that. Okay, but anyway, he said Derek Carr underthrows passes on purpose. That's what he said. But,
No, well, I would say, because I kind of caught the thing when Adams had those two PI calls, they were blatant PIs. I mean, I could say, dude, turn your effing head around and you won't get the call. And he didn't do it.
yeah,
Didn't do it. Blatant
bros
BS.
in the building.
Right. So, Bolt Bros.
Yes, indeed.
Oh,
Both
bros,
bros in
how
the
you doing
building.
now? Good to see you, Kyle.
So that's a wonderful segment. The show is going to end promptly at a little bit before 9, a couple minutes before 9 today. I am actually going to be appearing on the Bolt Bros podcast, repping the Broncos and going over the Broncos Chargers game. So after the show, if you are interested and are on the Chargers side of things, or simply want to on the Broncos side of things and want to catch me over there, you can find me over that way, and we'll be breaking down the Chargers at Broncos game in a little bit more depth. And that's also probably a great segue to go over to cover the Raiders game next week. Okay, we're done. Alex, onto the
onto this juggernaut.
it's
Yes,
guys.
must-see
I'm only
TV.
joking. The Raiders have a bye week,
Right.
so that was
Well,
a joke.
We're
Hard
not
to lose.
losing next week unless the NFL gives us a loss just to F with us.
Yeah.
Hey, if
They
anyone
might.
can find a way to do it,
The Raiders can.
it'd be the Raiders.
No, I said the NFL. NFL.
So, Alex, with that in mind, I'm going to quickly throw over to the 3-point stance on for the Bills. This guy was fantastic. I really enjoyed
He's
the
probably
takes
riding
here.
high.
Remember, you're an underdog.
Oh, I
3-point
know.
stance. Here we
I
go.
know.
This is Kevin Masseri from the Going Deep podcast on the Cover One Podcast Network. And the Bills have an extremely large game this weekend against the Kansas City Chiefs on primetime television with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo calling the game. What's really interesting is this has a lot of emotional ties. You'll see around images all week about it just being another game for the Buffalo Bills, but you can tell last year when they came back twice on the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC divisional round that this game will mean absolutely more. You'll hear from Sean McDermott about how home field was a huge factor in that. Bills dropped late games last year to Jacksonville and to others in the season, Pittsburgh early on in the year, that they definitely needed back to clinch the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Bills could have used that last year. As you go into this season, The Kansas City Chiefs, to me, aren't the same team. They struggled, yes, last night against the Raiders and probably should have lost. There was some questionable calls both ways. Did Devontae Adams catch that ball late? It's questionable. The refs did play a role in that, but I do believe the Raiders were the better team. I think that the Bills were very excited to see Tyreek Hill leave to go to Miami. However, the Dolphins do have the only win against the Bills, but that took a lot of extenuating circumstances for that to even happen. So I still think the Bills feel fine with Tyreek Hill leaving for division rival Miami. But one of the biggest points to how the Bills win, they need to get Patrick Mahomes on the ground. They went out and spent a lot of money on Von Miller. They've revamped their defensive ends are PFF rated as well as anybody. You have Boogie Basham is one of the best supplemental pass rushers. You have Gregory Rousseau is a great side piece to Von Miller. And you have AJ Epinesa, who just got in a little scuffle with Pittsburgh, as a really good fourth rusher for the Bills. So they're in pretty good shape defensive end-wise. They're very healthy. Their offensive tackles are healthy. Ed Oliver's back. Daquan Jones has been a good clogger for them. They need to get Patrick Mahomes on the ground. Anyone in the Bills organization right now will tell you the reason that they weren't able to win that game had nothing to do with 13 seconds, had everything to do with them not being able to get Patrick Mahomes on the ground. And the Raiders were successful at it, for instance, last week. So Bills will want to follow suit in that, and that's the number one key to the game is rush for and win those battles against, to me, a shaky tackle group of the Kansas City Chiefs. Their interior line's been good. Their tackle play has not been very good, and the Bills are looking to dominate that and dropping 7. And they're very scheme friendly that they like to do. And they've been dominant, the number one rated defense in a lot of categories this season, and absolutely befuddling other teams, including, Lamar Jackson, Tua Tagovailoa when he was healthy, and others. They were able to kind of befuddle a lot of offenses here this season. They've only allowed 7 second half points in 5 games, 0 in the third quarter. So those are things that they're looking to carry into the Kansas City Chiefs game. It's not just about the Bills' strong offense. Number 2, the Bills need to run the ball a little bit. There's been rumors here in Buffalo that they could be interested in Christian McCaffrey after the Carolina news broke. I believe it. I buy it. I buy all that information because they need a premier running back. They would even trade Devin Singletary, Zach Moss, James Cook in order to make that happen and take some pressure off of Josh Allen. You saw Jacobs' success as well. The Bills would like to do something similar with Devin Singletary. They struggle with run blocking is one of their biggest struggles, but Josh Allen more than makes up for it. The Bills defense more than makes up for it. And Josh Allen's running more than makes up for it, as well as the short passing game, which is a supplement to the Bills' running game. So you will see the Bills possibly make a play. And they did this in the AFC divisional round last year of trying to run the ball a little bit better. It's a focus. Sean McDermott will bring it up in almost every discussion that they need to run the ball better. And I do believe it. And I do believe the smoke that if the Panthers were to even consider getting rid of Christian McCaffrey in his contract, the Bills would be more than interested in that. So that's number 2 key to victory. Number 3 key to victory to beat the Chiefs for the Bills. They need to play sound defensively on the defensive backfield. They have some banged up injuries there. As many people may know, they're missing Trey White, who should be back in the next couple of weeks, hoping everything's okay with his knee. It's been a little bit longer than we all anticipated. We thought this would be the game he would be full go. We're probably more looking at Green Bay after the bye there. So those would be the 3 keys.
I wanted to thank our guests.
Music back.
Yeah, where's my rock, bro?
Yeah, do you know what? I am going to have to make
man.
another call on that. But
Page, Robert Plant,
yeah,
Bells.
yeah. But I will say, really good information there. You got some a little bit more in depth in terms of more matchup type stuff, which I really like, because I think that is kind of what a lot of us are looking at and figuring out names. I don't think any NFL would appreciate any other NFL player being called a side piece. I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna,
The one interesting thing I had, he had some good points, but I felt like his whole second point was for them to beat the Chiefs would be for the Bills to get Christian McCaffrey. He seemed to talk for a length about trading for McCaffrey. And wants to talk about this running game, but McCaffrey's not on the Bills, so
No, the other thing is, if that would happen, he'd be injured the next week.
Yes.
Yeah,
but no, I mean, I get that is the blueprint. I've said it before to beating the Chiefs is keeping their offense off the field, and running the ball. But he compared Jacobs' success with the Bills, and I mean, I don't see Singletary or James Cook or Zach Moss being as effective. Josh Allen certainly could be, but to me, that's kind of an apples to oranges comparison to say that Buffalo could be just as successful running the ball. I know that that's what they're going to try to do. That's usually how they have played them. The last 2 games last year. This to me is kind of the biggest test for if KC actually maintained their success in terms of transitioning their offense and bringing in new pieces. They've certainly been tested up to this point, but obviously this is the premier showdown with both teams somewhat peaking, in terms of, where they're at momentum wise and just executing. But I think Buffalo hasn't looked at times as effective as offensively as they were last year. It's certainly both teams are going to come like ready to play, and it's going to be a hard fought match. And what I think is going to likely end up being for probably home field advantage in the playoffs.
I agree with that.
He keeps their success up to this point.
Yep.
But I think that the Chiefs somewhat need to take a similar approach because pretty much, why we have 2 solid teams. I mean, they're both well known for their offensive, weapons and offensive prowess, so to speak. And I think you need to see KC sort of flip the script and have the same approach and be effective in running the ball. You kind of saw that take a hit against the Raiders, but going down 17-0 will do that to you. So, we got a bad Clyde Edwards-Helaire last week compared to a few the weeks before that. I think he averaged like 1.6 a carry or something atrocious. McKinnon was an effective runner. They didn't ever try to get Pacheco in there when I thought that he was somewhat trending up to be more involved. But they could have planned for that, and game script just going down 17-0 didn't afford that. But to me, that's what KC needs to do as well is be effective running the ball and keep Josh Allen and the defense off because they have a lot more weapons through the air than I think KC does. And if it got into a scoring shootout, I think that I think the Bills could end up pulling it off because of where they're at. They're not drastically changing what their identity is from last year. So I think if it is comes down to the wire close game, there's a pretty good chance that the Bills could win through the air just because of the Gabe Davises, and they obviously have Diggs and Dawson Knox. They have more. I think if it gets to do a pissing match, who can throw better, I think that they come out on top. So to me, KC needs to establish the run, stay with the run, hopefully not go down 17 points right off the gate. One good thing is they are getting McDuffie back this week, their first round corner. So they are getting kind of reinforcements, if you will, in the secondary at a pretty good time against a good opponent.
What a time for McDuffie to come back and to face Diggs.
Well, and up to this, and the good thing too is
welcome to the NFL.
Amen.
The good thing too, well, he played week 1.
Bless him.
But he played in week 1, so he's already got some experience. But and the good thing too is they had to replace him with rookies that were later round guys who have been playing pretty well. So he's not going to be pressured to go in and just be the guy. I mean, they've been able to sustain some success, at least coverage-wise, with your Jalen Watsons and kind of the more unknown name guys.
I'm still seeing Jalen Watson run for that damn touchdown in that game, but I digress.
Yeah, hey. But, it's going to be a good game. Huh?
I wanted to hear from you because it was an interesting comment because earlier, actually, in previous episodes of the show, I mean, we were breaking down each of our teams kind of coming into the season. And one of the things that was generally thought of was that Kansas City had a pretty solid offensive line.
Yeah. Which they do.
Captain, do you need the FAQ?
Yeah.
I'm glad that's my
up, man. Isn't it like
Yes.
9 o'clock at night?
It's not Facebook this time. It's Instagram. So okay, I'm sorry, guys.
I was going to say it was your
But,
OnlyFans.
so we're going back to the
still,
side pieces and the messaging and all that kind of stuff. So, anyways, we
Hey,
pivot.
If you're this old and gets messages like that and you're jealous, so be it. There you go.
Good for you.
Yeah. OnlyFans messages are popping.
Yeah. So ultimately the question is that he kind of made an interesting point, which is the Chiefs tackles statistically have had some struggles this season, which I don't think we would have actually expected. I think we would have expected, maybe better play than what they have right now, because they're kind of veterans within their positions. They're not, brand new, or, they're at least established, right? And they played okay last year.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
Well, no, and I think, to me, looking back into the season, I think the tackle positions would be the ones that would be expected to be the worst out of them, because you got Tony and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith right in the middle, who are all, all pro players or rookie, highly graded rookie guys from last year. I thought going into the season that the shakiest spot was right tackle with Andrew Wiley.
Yeah, I would have agreed with that. Mm-hmm.
And Orlando Brown is definitely regressed from, being what he was last year and then demanding the money he was in the offseason. And he just hasn't played up to the par that he was last year. And maybe part of that is, I don't know, maybe he'll come around, but at least up to this point, he's kind of, you can tell teams know that he can't defend against a speed rush.
I've been through that though. I've been through that.
But somehow I've been curious and thought about going back and like looking at games last year and seeing how they put more of a back over on his side, but because I didn't get the same sense last year that he was getting like just beat so consistently like that off the edge. But that's the big worry to me on the pass rush. Yeah, Orlando.
I'm glad you got that, because I was going to grab it too there.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
But the tackles have been pretty bad, but at least up to this point, it hasn't been enough to overly affect their offensive success in terms of moving the ball, and they need to. Like I said, this is the big test, for me against this opponent, to see if their roster meshes up with playoff caliber. Playoff caliber team, or what's a Super Bowl favorite. So I think you'll see them kind of do what they did with the Chargers and Bosa and Mack, and you're going to see a lot of chipping, a lot of quick bubbles to Sky Moore. I mean, you saw them start to do that at the end of the game. That's basically like an extension of their run play. It was just a quick 7 yards. So I think that's how you see the game start off, at least for the Chiefs, is running the ball and a lot of those quick hitters to just kind of lighten up the pass rush. The one good thing is it's an older guy, Von Miller. So, it's at least
still got a lot of juice though. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he does. But
he got a lot of juice left.
For some reason,
that guy is going to make your left tackle look silly.
Listen,
maybe.
I'm looking at
that. Mahomes made Von Miller look silly one time. So,
one time.
Well, I'd be curious as how many
you hold on to that one time, and we'll see what happens.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think it's going to be a long day for whoever got to Von Miller.
Thank you, Bolt Bros. Thank you, Bolt Bros. That's why there's somebody in the chat that I had to put on timeout the last time he was on my show.
Name names.
Call him out.
FAKC, stop being such an asshole when you're in these places, okay?
Dude, Hefe's my lone KC guy. Come on.
No, I'm just saying I hate the team, but don't be an a-hole about it.
I'm trying to see how many times
Well, the important piece here is that you can hate the team and you can make comments about the team. You can make comments about the players and how well they played or how, well they didn't play. However, I think it's important that you just be mindful of not attacking people just because you disagree with them or that they cheer for a different team that you don't. And I think as long as you generally follow those rules, by and large, you should be just fine in pretty much most places in kind of the football podcasting world. Most people are pretty understanding about that. So if there's any other feedback that anyone else has with regards to the KC Bills game, throw those questions and comments down below underneath the video. We have a little under 15 minutes left. And because we're talking a division rivalry game, I mean, you really do need to get into the weeds as we delve into this for the remainder of the show. Coach, I'm going to throw it over to you because something tells me that the Chargers are going to be far more interesting to watch than my Broncos. So go ahead.
Well, I always
and yes, I said that out loud.
You did, and it's on tape, so we got it. It's on 4 different channels, so when we need evidence, we can pull it up. But yeah, I would hedge my bet in this particular game, regardless. This is one of those games, and the Chargers fans know this all too well. That it's not a trap game, but it's one of those games.
It's a trap.
It's not a trap game, like I guess Cap so eloquently put it. But it's one of those games where you should feel good about it, but we don't, because it's a divisional game. The Broncos always play us tough, regardless of where they're at, personnel wise and production wise, record wise, however you want to slice it. I just feel like for some strange reason that every time that we get a team that's kind of teetering on the ropes, all of a sudden they have a breakout game against us. Like the prime example, the Jags played the best football they could have played against us, and look what happened. They didn't make a mistake. I don't think they turned the ball over. They didn't do anything wrong. Like they played a flawless game. So speaking on the same vein, I feel like the Broncos are going to come to play. So So that's not bad. It's not bad. But overall, I just don't think the Broncos, we should sleep on them. I really don't. I don't think that you should think that their offense is going to be the same against us. I don't think we should feel like they're going to have struggles and misreads like they normally do. There you go, Kyle. Kyle knows what I'm talking about.
What's your score prediction? Let's hear that.
Score prediction? I don't have one. I don't have one at all. I really don't.
9-3.
Yeah.
No. I want to say, listen, if we manage to keep y'all under 10 points, then we're not going to score 10 points. We're going to score more than that. I don't know how much, but I'm just saying we're going to score more than that. And if Keenan Allen plays, I'll feel much better from our offensive production perspective. But I do like the idea of us using Methuselah. So I think that if we can keep the running game going, especially with guys like Gregory being out, and I don't know, is Browning banged up? Is he playing? Is he questionable? Browning is he going to play?
The last I heard, it was a likely no.
Okay.
But
so we're looking at Benito.
You never know how, because he had a wrist issue, and I haven't heard recent information on kind of where he's at.
Right. So I would say stick to the running game. Stay balanced on offense for sure. I would definitely lend to that idea. And the biggest sticking point on defense, I mean, outside of the run game and being aligned properly and things of that nature, I would say for sure that we have to get pressure on Russell. We got to get pressure on him. We haven't gotten consistent pressure since game 1 when Bosa and Mac were both healthy and whole. We haven't got consistent pressure on the quarterback. We didn't get pressure at all on Jacoby Brissett and against the Browns. I don't think we had one sack. So I think that the biggest, I guess you can say sticking point is to get pressure on Russ, make him uncomfortable, and make him get rid of the ball fast. Again, just do that for sure. Should be the biggest sticking point on defense. Offense just be balanced. If we can do those things, I think we come out with a win. But I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a close game. If I had to throw out a score, I would say somewhere around, let's say 20-13. Something around that nature.
You got a score out of them.
Yeah, I mean, the more I thought about it, but again, it just all
depends.
Now
I say it 40-0.
That's right. Actually, that's what I thought something was going to be like with the Chiefs and Raiders game, but the Raiders shocked the hell out of me. I wasn't expecting what I saw on Monday night. I was
going to say, because I remembered that I think the term was boat raced.
It was. I thought it was going to be. I was very wrong on that. I was very surprised.
There's the Raiders play divisional rivals far too aggressively for it
Correct.
to ever get out of control. It just,
They reiterated that. Yeah, they reiterated that for me.
Fan, I did not say it would be a blowout. So
but you also got to look at it like this. Look what they did with them last year. The Raiders did have a rough time against the Chiefs last year, especially.
In Vegas they got boat raced.
Yeah, yeah, they did.
I don't think the KC game.
The Arrowhead one
was closer.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
I know one game was a blowout. I know one game was pretty bad, but
it was horrible.
But I would is worried about the Chargers when it comes down to each one of you guys' teams. Like I feel more comfortable in how tough we play the Chiefs versus how tough we play against the Broncos and the Raiders. It's like we should be the better team on paper and we should win those games, and it should be, I want to say easy, but it shouldn't be as hard to win a game as it would be against the Chiefs. But we play the Chiefs way tougher than we play y'all. I don't get it. Like we're in dogfights with the Raiders and the Broncos every year, no matter who's quarterbacking, no matter who's on defense, who's running the ball. It's always a tough game. And again, it comes down to the running game and the pass rush for us. Like I think that was the biggest sticking points, just to give I guess an overarching view of the game. If we're able to run the ball like kind of similar to what we did last week, use the backs out of the backfield, and we can get a decent pass rush on Wilson, we should win the game. That's my hottest takes on it.
Well, for starters, the reason why the Broncos are always a tough out, generally speaking, is because we always prioritize defense.
Mm-hmm.
We do.
Definitely when Fangio was there. My goodness, I was very highly impressed with that defensive core while he was there. Like I'm just like, can you keep him but get a head coach? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like keep Fangio as a coordinator, but my own selfish defensive opinion. Keep Fangio as a coordinator, but let Hackett be the head coach.
Well, believe it or not, there's actually multiple statistics that are showing that Evero is actually is doing better on the defensive side of the ball for us.
I'm glad you brought it up. Let me ask you this question. Wasn't he assistant to Fangio?
Yes.
Did I read that? Okay, yes. Good. That's why.
So he said mini-me. He kept a lot of the same
No. You know what? And that was a smart move by the Broncos to retain him. That was a very smart move.
No. Sorry. When I answered yes, he was not an assistant under Fangio when Fangio was there after he got fired. Evero worked under Fangio I think with the Niners, if I'm not mistaken.
Also, he's a disciple though.
But he is.
Oh, okay. That's all you need.
Yeah,
that's all you need.
And then the benefit
Flavor Aid. And by the way, that is the historic correctness. It's not no damn Kool-Aid. They drank Flavor Aid. He drank the Flavor Aid, and he knows.
Oh wow. That's for those who don't know. That's the bargain basement Kool-Aid.
Yes,
flavor.
And that's why all those
is the generic version of Kool-Aid.
Flavor
Aid. Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Flavor Aid is the generic version. That's Fruit Rings versus Fruit Loops. Is Flavor Aid versus Kool-Aid. That's
so when you go into the bargain stores or the dollar stores,
yes,
and that's where your shopping is done. Flavor Aid is the sugary drink
correct
mix that is there. Like that is the thing.
Look up Jonestown Massacre, Alex. There'll be some more history.
Oh, I know what that is.
So Coach, just as we kind of wrap up and kind of go through some of the Broncos game here, quickly got back on Evero. He also has some experience under Wade Phillips, and he also has I can't remember the other guy. Dom. I think he may have actually worked under Dom Capers, who's a
Dom Capers is a beast.
Yeah. So Dom Capers is actually our kind of like defensive kind of coach's assistant, who's helping Evero as he's kind of getting into the full on DC role.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's where Dom Capers makes his money. He's not a great head coach, but he's a great defensive mind.
Right. So you have Evero with his kind of like Fangio and Wade Phillips kind of background stuff mixed with Dom Capers, who's actually on the staff working with Evero. And that's why you're seeing this really interesting hybrid between like a Fangio-esque style scheme, but then you're seeing more blitzes and a few other things mixed in, which Fangio just typically doesn't do.
Right.
Oh, they got Dom Capers as an assistant?
Yeah. Yeah, as a consultant. Let's call him a consultant.
Senior defensive assistant. I'm looking at the website right now.
Yeah. So anyways, I think that's why you're seeing the Broncos defense it has not taken any steps back. If anything, arguably, it's actually gotten better, which is actually really interesting.
Yeah, I like that because I always wonder when you hire offensive coaches, what happens to the other side of the ball?
Defense
But if because I always say if you hire defensive coaches, your head coach, you got to hit a home run with your OC. Same thing with the defensive side of the ball. If you hire offensive coach, you got to hit a home run with your DC. So them putting in a Fangio / Caper disciple, that's a home run. Now I get why the defense is still up on par with what it was last year. Yeah,
right. So then the question becomes is what can we do on the offensive side of the ball? I think the benefit to us is that you have struggled with Bosa being gone, with getting pressure on the quarterback.
Yes, we have.
I think from an offensive perspective, I do believe that we're going to be prepared to help with that. Although I think we're going to see some pressure just because our offensive line has mightily struggled this year. I would like to see this game with some offensive linemen shuffling. So it may be a disappointment if the right guys go in the right places. Again, I didn't get to finish what I was going to say. I'm going to quickly zip through it. I think on the left, from left to right, it should be Anderson. We should see Reisner stay there at left guard. I want to see Graham Glasgow in the center position. I want to see Miners, if he returns, go to the right guard. If Miners can't return, I want to see Moody step into the right guard spot. And then the right tackle will remain as Fleming, who a lot of people in Broncos country are not really speaking highly of Fleming, but he hasn't been, a wow factor, but he's had some pretty darn good games and he's made some good plays overall. So I think we need to just kind of slow our roll a little bit and say he was never going to be a permanent option, but he's done pretty darn well considering he wasn't actually meant to be the original starter.
That's a great point. And the fact that y'all got 2 reserve tackles playing this game, if we can't get pressure on Russell, then we just don't need to be playing.
Right. So anyways, that's kind of my general comment on the offensive line. The other thing that I would like to see is what we saw a little bit near the back end of last game is where we had the flanking tight ends. Hackett likes to stack them almost like Shermer did. Captain, thank you very much for joining.
Got to go, and I left my guard comment for you, Coach. I
saw that you bet rested. I saw that.
Just wanted to make sure you guys have a good one. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next week.
See you, Cap.
And so my comment ultimately is that I just want to see flanking tight ends more, and I believe that that'll really help us, which is a tight end to the right side of the right tackle and a tight end to the left side of the left tackle. You're still playing that 22 personnel set, which is 2 tight ends on the field, which is, I think, a good thing for the Broncos. It helps us with both the run game, and it allows us to break out one of our tight ends. You saw what Saubert was able to do in the middle of the field when he was playing in Indy with those catches. I think you can see more of those types of, up the seam, right up the middle, kind of, between threading safeties and corners, that kind of play. I think you can see that type of lane discipline in the passing game work very well. Do I think we're going to come way out ahead? Sadly, no, because I think we have too many injuries overall, and I think we'll eventually get gashed, and I believe we'll likely get exposed more often in the run game. And I think that's what will do us in ultimately. But I do think that we can make some adjustments to squeak out a win or barely lose.
Like I said, I think it'll be close. And I'm curious to see what the run game is going to be like with the changes on the O-line, and you're down a running back with Devontae going down. So Melvin Gordon, we kind of
redemption game for Melvin.
Is it really? I mean, he's playing his forward team
too. That didn't want to sign him. Team that didn't want him back.
No. We wanted him back, but he just didn't want to take the money that we offered him. He wanted
to pay him what he thought he was worth.
Well, you see what he ended up with, right? So hey, that's on you.
I was waiting for someone to actually ask this question. It was inevitable. At the end of the day, it was inevitable, wasn't it?
I figured we'd do it.
I had something, but since you asked that question, please tell him.
Okay, so
we need to know.
My thing is I believe a tight end needs to be a well-rounded player. I think they have to both pass block, they have to be able to pass catch, and then they have to have the ability to get some of those gritty, dirty yards, either by running the ball or a combination thereof. For those of you who didn't see Saubert the first couple seasons with the Denver Broncos, he showed himself very capable of doing those things, but they just didn't use him. And he was almost, disregarded by the offensive staff here before, even though he was clearly looking like the best tight end, well-rounded on the roster even then. And so it was one of those things where I was intrigued because he was so much better than everyone else in preseason. And then come the regular season, they said, you know what we're going to do? The guy that was statistically the best tight end on our roster in preseason, we're not going to play him at all. It's like, that sounds like a great idea. We'll win a lot with that, right? And so my intrigue actually came more from the fact that I saw play on the field that was good and then an offensive staff that ignored him. And I thought very little of the offensive staff at that point. So I basically felt that I was right and they were wrong. And
hey, look at it now.
And now he's got a long touchdown. He's had some pretty good statistical games.
He's a golden god.
No, the point is in an outside zone scheme, you need someone like him, and he is exactly the right player for the Broncos. And frankly, I do think that if you can get him at the right price, he'd be a great guy to extend. Because if you're going to continue with this type of offensive play scheme, he's exactly who you want. And he's certainly proven to be the perfect tight end for this scheme.
KC Teabagger is not a bad name, Jack.
Wow, sounds like a fantasy football name.
Tito, I have heard the rumors about that, but I don't think anybody's forced them to change their name yet. So,
but anyways, guys, I actually have to head out to jump over on the Bolt Burrows pod. We have really gone over all of the games and everything here and covered all of the things for all of the upcoming games. This is going to be one heck of a week because I think it'll really start defining some of the AFC West's standings and seasons, because we will have most of us would have all played each other at that point, generally speaking. And I think it'll really give us a good idea in terms of who's who and what's what at this point of the season. With that in mind, guys, I'd like to thank you all for joining us. Please leave your comments below the videos after the show if you are not able to catch us live, or if you've just kind of caught us midway through. Hit the like button, and we will see you next week on Wednesday, where the West Side is the best side. Peace.